The MBA program. And I'm sure that we'll all have a lot of takeaways from this 1 hour session. Thank you. What do you ma'am?
Thank you, KK sir. So as I said, his poise and his less few words, I mean, they speak volumes. Thank you. So how we will go is that we will come to each one of you. I'll pose certain questions to you and we'll expect an answer from you in 5 to 6 minutes. Then we will take a few questions from the audience. So my request to the audience, you can post your questions in the chat box. I'll go through the questions and we'll pose it to the panelists. You can also write down to whom you want to ask that questions. And if the time permits, then at the end, we can have some interactions from the audience. So are we good to go? Gunjit ma'am, are we good to go?
Yes, sure.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Thank you. So my first question is to Major Kumud Kumar, the CHRO Himmat Singha. Sir, you know the tectonic shift that we are going through, and you must be dealing with a lot of MBAs from reputed institutes, which I have interacted with you personally also, so I came to know from where all you are hiring. So what kind of skills, managerial competencies, work ethos the new MBA should possess so that they stay relevant in the industry and play a strategic role in the business decision making? What's your take on this, sir? Over to you, Major Kumud. So you have to unmute yourself. Major, you have to unmute.
Yeah, Pratika. So first of all, let me express my gratitude and pleasure for inviting me here on this platform. I have got no doubt with the various experts from different domains gathered here. Students are really going to get benefited out of this discussion. So coming to your question, you have asked me three things, skills, competencies, which managers should possess, and the work ethos. So let me first talk about the work ethos, right? Basically because I come from the HR background and I have also a background from the army, I focus a lot on the work ethos, which I feel are the most important. Work ethos are also the foundations of the individual values, and everything depends upon how an individual respects those values and take along in the corporate world for sustainable success, right? So I'm going to be first talking a little bit on the work ethos or the work ethics, which these young MBAs, when they go to corporate, will have to be really focusing on. And on top of the list is, the integrity and trust. So I very strongly feel as young employees in the organizations, it's very important to be absolutely transparent, stand very high on the integrity and the trust and the honesty factor. The onus lies on the individuals to win the trust of their superiors or the other colleagues in the organization. It's very important to do what is right and be very, very careful on, on their dealings. It's extremely important. Now, how do they know that what is right? Now, what defines what is right is the code of conduct of the organization. So it's very important that everybody reads the code of conduct of the organization very carefully, respects that in their day-to-day dealings, and goes strictly by that. So that's the most important thing. The next in my list is the hard work and the dedication, right? There's a latest trend which I see where youngsters and millennials they are hesitant in overstretching on works. They want to just log in on time and log off exactly on time and be very indifferent thereafter to the organizational needs. So my take on that is that whenever there's a need, people shouldn't mind stretching for work. Ultimately we all work for the organization. It's very important that come what may, attitude persist and jobs are delivered on time. That's extremely important because there are no shortcuts to hard work. I would suggest all these youngsters to, demonstrate a very high skill of, being disciplined, being punctual, being first in the office, and maybe, be last, while leaving, whenever required. So that's something, which I very strongly feel these youngsters must uh, have. Uh, Next in my list is the emotional intelligence, basically being into the shoes of others, reading between the lines and then taking the call or making the decision, refrain from negativity, embrace the positivity, look for positives in everything. That is what is very, very important. And the last thing in my list is engage with others. Now, I see these youngsters uh, glued to their electronic gadgets. They just don't want to come out of their rooms. They want to be just focusing on the social media through their gadgets. And even when they go out, they want to be close to a very, very close colleagues and not interact with anybody else. So very important that there is good amount of networking which is required. And trust me, the networking really helps in making things easier at work. So these are certain work ethos, Pratika, which I thought it would be from my end good for these youngsters to be aware of. Now, coming to the skills and the managerial competencies required, Pratika, just let me quickly elaborate a little bit on the how the industrial revolution has evolved over last 300 years. So in 1780s, industrial revolution had to do with mechanization. Then 100 years later, electrification came into being, where the concept of assembly lines and mass production started to happen. And then towards 1970s or 1980s came the automation by computerization, and then globalization in 1990s. And now, since last 5 to 7 years, we are seeing a new era, which is called as the era of digitization, which is Industry 4.0. So it's more to do with the digitization, the automation, man to machine communication, machine to machine communication, having machines which has their own ecosystem where they course correct and then get going. So we are in that kind of an era. Now, in this era, it's very important, that our youngsters, when they join the organizations, they are always, they are always skilled. They have to keep learning, keep refreshing on their learning, reskilling themselves, refreshing themselves on their knowledge. This is extremely, extremely important. Now, when we say reskilling and refreshing themselves on the knowledge, it's important that they are self-dependent. There is always a trend, in the organizations where employees, they tend to look at HR to organize their trainings and, make a development plan for themselves. So my advice to these young MBAs is not to wait for HR to organize, their trainings. They have to focus on the abilities which they lack, and for which they have to be well aware of what are the developments which are going on. Every day, new solutions are coming, right? And I presume that all these MBAs who are part of this program are going to become future finance managers, HR managers. They are going to be handling operations and supply chain. It's very important for them to be well aware of the latest digitization trend. Digitization is not just to do with computer science engineers. Everybody in today's world will have to be totally updated when it comes to coding, learning the newer apps, newer technology which is coming in, because everybody is linked with all other functions. So for example, today a finance professional should also be aware of how the warehouse of his organization is functioning. So it's very important that there is also a transdisciplinary skills, which everybody is competent on. So very important to reskill, to continuously upgrade their skills, not to be dependent on anybody, whether it is the organization or whoever, and to ensure that my suggestion is that everybody should be ready to invest in themselves. My suggestion is that, all these youngsters must allocate a small budget on a monthly basis towards their skilling. That's extremely important. Save money because these trainings, it costs, right? So it's not going to be easy. Learn coding, if I'm not sure if your college teaches coding to these MBA students, but what I know is this is extremely important. The schools have started to teach. There's no way out, without learning coding. So, and other than that, I feel these youngsters will have to be highly creative, highly innovative, because, there's only one thing which makes us superior to robots, and that's, our ability to think and be continuously creative. So that's very, very important. It's also important to have analytical skills, ability to crunch data and come out with, meaningful interpretation and convert that into, a meaningful solution to achieve the goals. Also, adaptive to change. It's extremely important that in the changing world where the technology is changing so fast, everybody will have to be highly, highly adaptive to the change. And for that, the answer is only to continuously keep learning, not to have a firm bent of mind on a particular process, on a particular way of doing things. They have to come out of it and be very, very flexible in embracing the change. So this is what, Pratika, I had to share in 5 to 6 minutes, which you had allocated to me.
Thank you. Thank you very much. In fact, very aptly said that reskilling is very important. And I think we as faculty colleagues have to also do that, because we have been, I teach marketing, and we have been teaching marketing since 15 odd years, probably in the same theoretical manner. So, upskilling, reskilling, we should also involve analytics and become a digital teacher rather than being, the teacher we were. And we have to also allocate the budget for ourselves to kind of train ourselves. So thank you, Major. My question will now go to Tilottama. Tilottama, I hope you are there. You can hear me?
Yes, I'm here.
Wonderful. So, Tilottama, one thing which I see when we talk to these youngsters, that one fear which comes is fear of job loss and less managerial intervention, because of this Industry 4.0 environment. How do you see the current era? It is a boon or a bane for future managers? And how they can convert it into a boon rather than a bane? Yes, Tilottama, over to you.
Right. Thank you so much for that question, Dr. Pratika. In fact, I was about to, cover a few points on this, but then Major KK has very well, covered some of the very, very important points in terms of the second part of your question, which you asked, how they can convert it to a boom.
Right.
The first part of the question, I am an MBA myself, and I, having spent about 18 years in the industry, even in an HR role, as well as for 3 years I was in a non-HR but in a business role. And I think the confidence with which an MBA education imparts to the students is very well-rounded and holistic. The ability to work, to study across multi-disciplines, as a large part of the curriculum, comes in very good stead years later when they progress in the corporate world. At least that's been the kind of experience that I have seen with regards to the MBAs that we have worked with or that whom we have hired. In my career, I've had the opportunity over the last, almost near to 2 decades to work very closely, not just as part of my HR team, but also overall, fresh MBAs, fresh graduates out of the various institutions. And I personally think that it is a boon and it will continue to remain a very, very positive discipline, or I would say a professional certification for uh, the upcoming students and the aspiring managers of Industry 4.0. Now, coming to the point of the current contextual environment in which we are operating, we've seen that, first we were 4 5 years back, we started talking about digital transformation. Then we started talking about, each of the industries. We were speaking of how to bring in these digital transformation-led changes towards optimizing growth and profitability for our organizations through each of the various disciplines, HR, finance, supply chain management, operations. Now, then came COVID. And then suddenly, a lot of us who were speaking that, we are the honchos, we have done massive wonders in the world of digital transformation, suddenly realized that however much we would have advanced, that still there was a big challenge in front of us and we needed to do things totally, totally differently. Now, of course, having survived wave one and wave two, the industries are opening up. Travel and hospitality is opening up across the globe with, vaccine passports and steady acceptance and growth. Our national education policy brought in by Government of India last year has brought in a lot of promising focus on the MBA professional curriculum, as well as the opportunities that the aspiring MBA students can have. Right now, what Major KK mentioned sometime back, that whichever discipline we come from as part of our MBA curriculum as students, whether we are an HR personal HR manager or a finance manager, it's important for each one to understand the technology, to understand the dimensions of technology. And technology is a very, broad word. It's also a little scary, I would admit, because what is in yesterday and what I may have mastered yesterday may have become obsolete today. Now, this yesterday and today could become very pertinent if somebody is not following the trends closely. If somebody is not, allocating the time, which again Major mentioned, uh, we need to spend some amount of our time, some amount of our financial resources towards our self-learning. MBA as a curriculum from the college is a good start. Okay, it allows one to start thinking in a particular way, how to orient one's learning propensity, which are the dimensions in which one can learn. It's like, training for a marathon. You don't get up one day and say, okay, I'm going to run a marathon tomorrow and cross the finish line and just do it, unless you've regularly inculcated discipline and fitness as part of your everyday habits and practices. So for learning and so for being successful as an MBA in the corporate world, the sense of discipline is, again, it's a innate quality and an innate trait. Now, someone who is disciplined, you will tend to see, will follow tracks of discipline in more or less everything, or largely one and many parts of life, whether it's about learning style, whether it's about spending some focused time on health, spending some focused time with family, spending some focused time on spiritual learning, holistic learning, and again some time allocated to technology. Now, as part of curriculum, you might have Java, let's say, or let's say Hadoop as one of your technology that the institute will be teaching the students. Now, as an MBA student, if one thinks that, okay, As part of my curriculum, I had Java. I spent 2 years, learning how to code on Java, and that's about it. Now that I have graduated, I've done my MBA over and out. I have that on the certificate. If anybody questions me, I'll go back and say I had studied Java for 2 years, and that's good enough. Now, that thinking, if one has, that needs to be altered, because it's actually fun. It's fun once one gets intoxicated to the joy of learning, to realize that there's so much to learn every day in the world of technology. There are so many dimensions of it. Robotic process automation. Why fear automation? Let's embrace it. As MBAs, you can play a very good role in terms of understanding the business context, creating the framework, the models on which these technology enabled levers would be deployed. So the role of an MBA, the role of the human resources, the human talent would never go obsolete. In fact, as over and over again we keep hearing from experts in the industry, that it's not that the jobs are getting lost, it's that the new kind of jobs are emerging. And as a beginner, as a fresh incumbent into the industry, coming with a MBA background, I think it's going to be a fantastic opportunity ahead, filled with a lot of creative pursuits, potential, and being able to get into delivering jobs which did not even exist in the past. One thing is there, agile way of working is something which every organization is trying to embrace in today's world. When we talk about agile way of working, couple of things are there. It requires people to bring in a, a collective thinking, wild intelligence also, as I call it personally, and basically look at how to continuously reskill, upskill as may be necessary, bring in skills which are complementary. The agile teams are leaner, flatter in structure usually. So of course, the erstwhile idea that I will be an MBA and I will have 100 people in my team, and then I will again have 1,000 people in my team, may not be one of the best ways of looking at it. But the idea is how much of value that I am creating. It's not about how many people that I am leading, but it's about the value that I am creating, the number of leaders that I am grooming. I am mentoring and I'm coaching. Okay, so mentoring, coaching, these are the skills which will be very, very important. And the industry will look forward to the bright and sharp MBAs, because let's admit it, when we say we are going to hire an MBA, the expectations are very high. We expect them to be very different from just normal graduates. There's obviously a different slab in which we look at MBA talent pipeline. And as Major was mentioning, I think with a strong sense of business ethics, non-negotiable qualities on integrity, adaptability, creativity, resilience, and people skills, being able to cross-collaborate across multiple culture, because there are no geographical boundaries that exist today, right? So those will become very, very important ways in which the MBAs of tomorrow can become successful. And I would just like to pause with saying that one of the very favorite quotes of mine from Albert Einstein is that imagination is everything. Okay, the managers of today, the successful managers of today, will be the ones who can dare to imagine, who will not shy away from disruption, who will embrace disruption, knowing that that is the business model and the context in which we are supposed to operate. Okay, the ones who will be relentless in their understanding of why, the purpose, designing the how, and connecting the dots to the purpose and business outcomes, will definitely be the champion MBAs of tomorrow. So that's some of the quick thoughts which I wanted to share, Dr. Pratika.
Thank you. Yeah. Thank you, Tilottama. Very well said that we need to be agile and continuously developing ourselves as educators and as students also. Mutually, we can learn that way. So thank you for your thoughts. Uh,
Thank you.
Now over to an educator who has been into industry as well and has been an educator also, Dr. Kamal Kishore Sharma. With your profound experience, which you had in industry, and now you are headed also, and you are heading a B school. How do you see that the B school needs to continuously reinvent and evolve, with the changes, and how to avoid that shortage of skills in the near future? What I mean to say is, please elaborate some challenges that we are witnessing in today's era, and if you can suggest what best we can do in the given situation. Yes, Dr. Kamal, over to you.
All right. Thank you, Professor Pratika. Am I audible?
Yes, very much audible. Thank you, sir.
All right. Okay. And thanks for the opportunity to be in an elite group of knowledgeable people. And it's a privilege to be here. So I'll limit my part. I think a very good background has been, made by Ms. Tilottama and Major K. Kumud, right? Yeah.
Yes.
Since you have asked me to talk about B school, I will limit my, little bits on the B school part of it. I'll leave the part of what students can do outside the B school environment.
Okay.
And since you also wanted me to, and I just have 5 minutes, so I'll just straight away jump onto the challenges. Now, I divide the challenges into two, the supply side and the demand side. As an academic, you always want to compartmentalize things, in the way that, you can understand them better. On the supply side, okay, it's about at a B school, what can I do to make two sets of skills, to inculcate 2 sets of skills in the students that I have. One is on the science side, so digitization and analytics. And the second part is, transparency, integrity, trust, ethos, engaging, discipline, adaptivity. These are the softer parts of it, and these I collect from the keywords that were spoken by the previous 2 speakers. So from the supply side, there could be 2 issues. One is, how do you deliver and who delivers it? Okay. So who delivers it? A lot of MBAs go wrong on that. They probably make an assumption that once somebody is able to go through a few books, a few exercises, look at a few YouTube videos, and will be able to deliver. Now, science, you could talk about analytical, statistics, digitization. There's something that, science is much easier to teach once you have some fundamental knowledge about it. Now, how do you teach the art of leadership, transparency, integrity, trust, ethos, discipline? The change readiness, how do you do that? And unless a person has gone through that experience, it does not make sense, even, and you see that, that's the reason why the education system wants PhDs, precisely the reason that PhDs would have gone through the grind of 3-4 years and then some more years of, maybe prior work experience or some teaching or something, so that they're able to relate to these circumstances of when you feel low, what should be done, how to manage stress, how to be change ready, how to trust people, how to develop some level of integrity. For example, integrity, if I pick up, a PhD will have to question each and every source of every data, every point, every saying, every sentence, from where it has been picked up. And the day you start saying that, no, I don't need to give, a footnote or a bibliography, or who will care? And but there are plagiarism softwares everywhere. So your integrity is at test almost at every moment. So some experience or a PhD kind of that background wherein you've gone through some of these life kind of skills, that's important. So getting the right people to teach, that supply side, I see missing in more than 95% of the institutions across MBA worlds. Then coming to demand side, I see the students of today, and mind you, please, I'm not talking about that we were good and today's kids are not so much, but today's kids don't push themselves hard enough. The motivation levels is a very short-term phenomenon that I've seen, that they're able to look at the midterm or an assignment at the end of 7 days, or at max, let's say, at the end of the term, there will be an exam or something. They, whatever level of, kind of counseling or mentoring that you do, it's very difficult. See, the teacher side is, if you don't have the right experienced people, you stop short at just explaining the things. There is no way in which you can ensure that that knowledge or that awareness has gone into the mind of the students and they're going to act accordingly. So I see a lot of students not pushing themselves harder, not being motivated enough. Now, there are two systems. So there is an IIM or a top 20 business school systems, where the fact that if they push themselves harder, they will be in the top 25 quartile, and they'll be able to get shortlists in consulting and iBanking systems. That's enough as a motivation for more than 60–70% of the crowd to keep pushing themselves harder, to learn a little bit more, to read a little bit more, to exercise a little bit more, to discuss more relevant things. So I find that demand side. Now, how do you deal with them? Obviously, when I spell out the problems, there have to be ways in which how you could deal with it. So the few things that come to my mind is basically more and more usage of experiential learning and role plays, and that comes from, again, a person who has been there, done that. They will be able to assess and coordinate those kind of activities much better. A greater use of simulations. There are simulations, whole business simulations, and to the level of pricing in a certain market segment kind of simulations. So specific functional simulations and overall business simulations are available. Use as much as, because simulations have a power to create a context, force the students to take a decision, to justify that decision, and learn from if there was a mistake. The cost of failure or a wrong decision in the actual world is very, very high compared to a learning environment at a B school. There should be more outbound kind of, leadership class. If you have seen, most of the IIMs do, village kind of, things, or, attachment with a certain social activity, or let's say going to the Himalayas, some trekking kind of a thing, or, just foot soldiering, around in the backward areas of the country to be able to, realize the ground level problems. So there are outbound, a lot of programs that are there that, straight away ask for, have the potential to actually polish the qualities of leadership, pushing harder, stress management, empathy, those kind of skills, that come through that. And then the project-based learning, that's the last point. So that requires a lot of industry partnerships, and I find that, industry kind of, always making some point that, we don't get enough people, but industry really needs to contribute also more to the B school system, because they are the ultimate beneficiaries. So they also need to, make live projects that they can actually select your B school, select some school in the same locality or same this thing. You don't need to go for everything to the IIMs. In that way, you will improve the whole ecosystem and create more skills in the society. So that industry partnerships and live project-based learning, that also puts a lot of emphasis and pressure on people to take relevant decisions and discuss relevant things and read about relevant things around an industry and make more informed decisions. So that's about it, demand supply, and there are some ways out to deal with it. Challenges at B schools, Industry 4.0.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. And yes, experiential learning, project-based learning, simulation are the keys for success in today's era. And I'm sure as educator, we have to inculcate that in our education system. And now over to Palak. Palak, one challenge which as an educator we feel is to inculcate the cognitive thinking in the students. That cognitive load management is another skill, that trains the business school student to prioritize the information, challenge the status quo in diagnosing the business problem. So how, as an educator, you think we can work upon it? Yes, Palak, over to you.
I hope you can hear me clearly, Pratika.
Yeah.
Great, thank you.
Turn on your camera, Palak.
Okay.
Yeah. Done. Yeah, please go ahead.
Is it all clear now?
Yeah.
Okay, great, thank you. Thank you so much for taking me back to the B school, where I think, coming back from the MBA background, I studied Stephen Robbins for the organizational behavior. I believe most of the B schools in India do use that. So where the definition of cognitive load management theory actually lies, that's all related about how much information your working memory can hold at one point of time. Before I really come on to your question, Pratika, like what shall we do about as an educator to inculcate this in the students, especially with the new era of 4.0 revolution and how we should challenge our status quo. I think we need to think about how we have moved so far. We have moved from traditional organizations to the smart factories. That's the new revolution. We have moved more into the from the transactional world to the strategic world. We have brought in a lot of productive ways of working. It is a world where who would have ever thought like Airbnb and Ubers, the process of going out will completely change, where you will book a taxi via app, you will share taxi via app, you will book a hotel via app. So look at the transformation, look at the era we are living in. It is a digitalization, as Mr. Kumar said. It's about machine learnings. It's about smart watches. It's about the smartphones, RFID technologies. Look at Amazon's, the way the robots have been brought into the warehouse, doing the routine jobs for them. And everybody's selling online. It's about innovation. So obviously it's the era where we need to think about, standard ways of the working, the routine ways have already gone away. So we need to be about smart, how smart we have to be. We have to think about the out of box kind of a thing, more creative. And as an organization, we always challenge ourselves. We want to come out of our comfort zones. We want to challenge the ways of working. We want to be more innovative about the ideas, build that knowledge base of the approach. I think so. I kind of sync with what Mr. Kumar said, what Ms. Paul said, and at the same point of time, Mr. Kishore said. I think these are the ways, these are the knowledge base is the key idea. I just want to pick up one great example where the innovation, where the digitalization, which is a common example, like all of us, we all know India is the industry for the outsourcing, BPO, customer care centers. And now it's been taken over by chatbots. It's been taken over by RPAs. So, all the specialized queries are the only ones which go into the customer support teams where the strategic relation comes in. And that's where we think about things like business process engineering. We think about supply chain management. We think about big data, predictive analysis, machine learning. I think it's a very challenging world at this point of time. If I would have been in the MBA school, I would think about what shall I develop about myself so that I can really cope with this competitive world. So I think one of the key skills, some of the key skills, which I will just simply list out, I think we are required to work to be competitive in our world today is problem solving skills. We need to work on our decision making. We need to have the understanding of the process flow, programming, the algorithm. That's the machine learning, the artificial intelligence, which is out there in the market. We're thinking about design thinking. We are thinking about analytics, planning, change management, project management, just to sync with the panelists out here. All this is today's world. It's the competition which is standing out. But as an individual, as a student, what shall I do? These are all big terms. What shall I do? For me, it's about thinking. It's about listening. for me, it's about understanding, and it's all about justifying and challenging what doesn't fit to what I think it should be. And I think we all need to improve upon our cognitive skills every day. Before it comes to the educator, I think it's important that we work on ourselves. Okay, so it could be um, like alter your everyday routine. Try to give yourself the new experience and challenges every day. Practical thinking, creativity, I think exercising, meditation, which will allow you to think, open your boundaries beyond. I think what one thing which I often do for myself is the gap analysis, which we call in the management term is called a SWOT. Analyze your strengths, your weaknesses, opportunities. It's first important to do yourself. That will horizon the cognitive mind. That will broaden your skill set about which direction we need to go into. I think this is what my beginning would be, like what I need to do, inculcate in terms of cognitive skills for myself before I look on to my educator. As it was said, that learn, Mr. Kumar said that before you get into before you expect HR to do some training session, learn about what you want to do about yourself. You should know what you want to go out and learn. And talking about the business schools, I think if I'm sure presidency would be doing a lot of things, but international B schools, they think about cognitive simulations, as Mr. Kishore said, it empowers the context. Textbooks should be just used for reference. I think we need to understand the concept. We need to apply the judgment. And that all comes from whether it's white papers, it's various sources to refer. I think so. We are more always remain in the textbooks, but it's not the textbooks learning anymore. It's about applying the judgment and the knowledge. So this is what I have to tell you about the cognitive skills. And wherever it is, I mean, just don't limit your horizon for knowledge. Be technologically advanced, be ahead the game, and be out of the box.
Thank you. Thank you, Palak. Thank you for your wonderful insights. And I believe SWOT is something which is important. Understanding yourself before, questioning and expecting from others. Understanding yourself is very, very important. Thank you. Now, my next and probably for this round, the last questions to Dr. Gunjit Kaur. But before that, I would like to repeat again, those who have questions, please put it in the chat box. I have already received a few questions. Look forward to more questions from the audience. Uh, Dr. Gunjit, are you there? Yes, yes. So we would like to hear from you, ma'am. What are some of the best practices that we as educator can adopt to make these students industry ready in this current era? Over to you, ma'am.
Yes, I would say that the faculty members at SOM need to be aware, need to be, in sync with the current changes in the world of management and business, and update themselves regularly. Sitting back and thinking I know all is the biggest fallacy, that can make us complacent and erode the future generations, because then they become static with us. The 3 A's is what the faculty members must, uh, gain awareness about. One is analytics. All faculty members, irrespective of the domain, must know analytics. That involves cognitive thinking, of analytical thinking. It may not be an actual technical skill of knowing the advanced and pro advanced Excel capabilities or R or Python. It is more about analysis competencies. So irrespective of the fact whether you are teaching a theoretical course like principles of management, for example, uh, that can involve a whole lot of analytical thinking, and train the students through an analytical, way, the principles of management. Just teaching theory and embodying kind of deadens the brain and stops the brain from thinking. So, given the structure of the brain and the advances in science that we have now, I am a big fan of this organ. Evolving it is our primary duty. And if we keep evolving ourselves as faculty members in a business school, I think that the students will automatically evolve. About 50% of the students still are totally faculty dependent. That is true for certain level of business schools and university systems that offer business and management programs. 50% is a huge chunk of the future generation. So creating robots and static individuals that don't, apply their brains to while doing work is definitely, not good for the growth of the economy, industry as a whole. Neither their growth if they want to achieve something in the career. Most of them, will fall back upon the thinking patterns of considering it as a job and changing jobs, every year, every 6 months. Whereas analytical thinking imparted to them by the faculty members will make them aware of the word career rather than a job. So looking at the work that they are doing, we teach them career, not jobs. Make them career ready, not job ready. And career readiness is a medium to long term thinking that can come only with analytical thinking, that can come only with thinking before I use the word analytical thinking. So, weighing the pros and cons and understanding how to take advantage of the cons is a big time skill in analytical thinking. Students can be bogged down with the challenges and the problems that they may meet in their future career growth, and there is no best place to prepare them to face those challenges than the business schools where the faculty members are totally trained in analytical thinking themselves. Second A is the application. Application is a must. A faculty member does not have to have an industry background or industry experience to understand the word application. Even those who have been in the teaching profession, since the beginning of their career, and have been evolving themselves with the knowledge, because the academic industry is all about knowledge and it's imparting. Knowledge for the sake of knowledge can make you into the biggest devil on earth till you apply. It bogs down brain, it confuses the brain and enables wrong decisions. Application is what is the need of the hour. COVID has taught us we must understand that nothing is static. There are many things out of our control, and the assumptions that we have made in so many of the domains are wrong. For example, let's talk about economics, where the perfect economy is a scenario in many theories of economics, and COVID came and proved this wrong. There is no perfection. So courses evolve, whether it is through external situations out of our control or through internal, top management decisions. The faculty members, the word that should not be in any faculty member's dictionary is, hey, wake up, you are already awake. So to read that state, analytical thinking and application skills, they are a must. You cannot impart, you cannot educate. Education is not about degrees, so you cannot educate students till the time you know how to apply. So the modality of, for example, flipped classrooms, where the definitions and are not imparted through a presentation that gets boring after a particular point of time. That's full of text, where the students can easily gain that knowledge from the books available, and today's students' god is Google. So information is floating around on the internet, and if the student finds that Google is much better than the faculty teaching them, they lose the respect of the faculty members. So application skills, the faculty members must train, upgrade themselves. Application skills do not include only case studies. It includes applications fundamental word, according to me, is curiosity. So till you are curious, you will not experiment. Till you don't experiment, you cannot apply. Till you don't apply, you don't know, you can fail. And if you don't know, you can fail. You get into the fallacy of thinking yourself as God. And you will fail. Then you are bound to fail. So application skills are a must. For example, if let's talk about today, what's happening is artificial intelligence and IoT of things and all the algorithms that we see are typically originating out of biology. My personal passion is technology. They're all originating out of biological truths, whether it is the human structure biological truths, brain structure biological truths, or plant structure biological truths. So for example, let us take the course of biology, for example, or, the student doesn't have to do only exercises in lab. Or even if it is a course in psychology, a study of human behavior in the human resource domain in a business school, the student has to go out. There is no other way. Sitting in the classroom, no one can understand human psychology, no one can understand biology, no one can understand any other domain. Can you impart a course in marketing without the students going out? No, we cannot. Same is the case with finance. Till the time we apply, counting their pocket money given to the dad by the dads and moms, and they're blowing or what, and they don't even know today, despite being engineers, for example, how to repair the iron at their own home, in their own home. So application is a must, right from their daily routine life to the industry that they are corporate, that they are aspiring to be. The word corporate sounds very glamorous to them when they start, when they enroll in the MBA program. But they do not understand that, the corporate is going to be all about application and testing their skills. It's a testing ground, testing their skills. Do you know how to experiment? Do you know how to deal with failure? Do you know that you can fail? Do you know what to do after you fail? Do you have a plan B? Can you make a plan C? Will you let go of your goal just because your plan A did not work? Does your goal have a plan B and C so that you can contribute to the growth of the company that you have joined by maneuvering your own tactics to plan B and C and achieving the goals of the organization and contributing to the organization? So application, it's true for the faculty members also. We have ensured here at Presidency, especially in the School of Management, School of Commerce, that we have a totally corporatized environment. Our faculty members are regularly updated, but that's exactly the need of the hour. There may be many, challenges, resistance to learnings, but we got to do it. We got to do it so that we are in sync and on the same page as the industry is. And we do not give them outdated in the industry, the outdated knowledge and the future generation with the outdated knowledge. And third is awareness. Awareness can include self-awareness. I'm a faculty member. I'm dealing with students who are going to join the corporate. Am I behaving like an industry person so that I can train them that, look, this is what happens in the industry. You cannot say, ma'am, is it okay if I don't attend, or sir, is it okay if I don't attend the class? I want attendance. Will you give me attendance? Ask them a question. We ask them a question. If you are, let's say if I am your manager in the company that you have just joined, are you going to ask this question? We need to say no. We need to tell the students, welcome to the company, not welcome to the business school. Everything from our dressing sense to the mannerisms to the words we speak have deep impact on the students, especially the 50% huge chunk of the students who are faculty dependent. They look up to the faculty members, and they are totally enamored by the faculty members and would copy them. So that is one thing. Second awareness is about the dynamism present in the environment. We all cannot be aware of everything. For example, if I am saying my passion is technology or artificial intelligence, 100% sure I cannot be, aware of every change, every new development in the artificial intelligence domain. But still, I would want to go ahead, read about it, and be updated about it. So awareness, I have used the word awareness rather than updation, because awareness includes self-awareness and awareness of the external environment, and transferring this awareness of both the types to the business students. And I totally agree with all the speakers who are here, and the collation of all their thoughts and opinions would definitely help the business school students. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Very aptly said, and we try to follow it at School of Management under your able leadership. Thank you. Now we will start with certain questions. I've already received a few questions in the chat box. Harshita B, you are there? Harshita B?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, you can pose your questions. You can pose your questions to Dr. Kamal Kishore. Yes, Harshita.
Yes. So with the current onset of the third wave, and you spoke about upskilling ourselves, doing a lot of courses, and you also emphasize the importance of practical learning. Now, with in-offices opportunities decreasing so much, how can we stay ahead and upskill ourselves in terms of practical knowledge?
Sir, you need to unmute yourself, Dr. Kamal. Yeah.
So I'll take that first if the question is to me, okay? What you're saying is the third wave, the COVID, the work from home, the study from home environment, and how to be relevant and keep upskilling yourself. Well, to me, I'll quote the last sentence first. An MBA cannot be taught online. To me, I'm very clear about it. It's an experiential learning in its entirety, and bad luck, including my own daughter, who is doing her MBA, and she's not had a single physical class at Symbiosis Pune. So I can, जैसे हिंदी में कहते हैं मैं भुक्तभोगी भी हूँ, इसलिए I'm just taking the last sentence first. But having said that, it's not in our control. There are some controllable and quite a lot of uncontrollables in life as well, including this COVID. Now, it's wrong to presume that the third wave has come. So there are still, issues there. So, but then what it has done is the probability and the general talks that are going on has lessened the chances that the campuses will open very soon. So, it enjoins upon a lot of brave thinking on the part of governments in order to open up the colleges and schools. So that may not happen soon, but it's just a matter of a couple of months, even here. So presuming even if the wave comes, there will be not much pressure on the health infrastructure, presumably, once again. And there'll not be many casualties, hopefully, once again, seriously hopeful about that fact. And the length of the cycle will be less, which a lot of models speak about. So maybe by October, things will be back to, near normal. And after that, fourth, fifth, sixth wave, all will be there. But over a period of time, people would have learned to live. We are already have learned to live with the virus now. But given that it's just a matter of 2-3 more months, what have you been able to do in the last 1.5 years that is more crucial? If you have been just sitting at home, watching the TV and hoping against hope that things will be coming back to normal and not have done anything, then there is a problem. So you have lost 1.5 years of your life, of your very valuable life. But even now, if the next 3 months, if you have to do a few things that are important, you don't have to go very far. Presuming you have good internet at home, there are a lot of MOOC courses that are available. A lot of MOOC courses, MWC, I'm sure we all understand, massively open online courses, and that too from the best of universities of the world. Pick up a skill that you want to be good at. If you are not able to decide on that, talk to your professor, talk to your friends, talk to your mentor, and find out something that you must do, and not sit at home. Presume that it's a regular, disciplined college from morning 9 to evening 6. Then only you will be able to, do some valuable things. Two is, this is the time, I've always held that there are 3 skills, most basic skills, which take the students the farthest in life and the rest earn the respect that they deserve. And they are very elemental skills, that is reading, writing, and speaking. So we don't need to go very far about, writing and speaking. Obviously, a good communication, a person, impresses you very soon and immediate. But the reading part of it today, it is just limited to headlines and WhatsApp. Headlines and WhatsApp. So if you can do something, the newspapers have started again. Sanitize your hands and sanitize the, newspaper you can't sanitize. But don't use that same hand once you have handled the newspaper. But read aloud from point, the starting point to the ending point. If you don't want to read certain things because you don't like that, fine. But go deeper. Don't read the headlines. Go deeper. These are the 2 things at least you can do in the next 3-4 months, by which time the things will be back to normal and you'll be going to college.
True. Very rightly said, and I'm sure, Harshita, you're going to start reading newspapers from tomorrow if you have not already started. Tilottama, you there? My colleague, Dr. Sanjay, wants to pose a question to you. Sanjay?
Sure.
Yeah, Sanjay, over to you.
Yeah, hi Tilottama. Thanks for your nice talk.
Oh, thank you, Sanjay.
Tilottama, I spent 10 years in dealing government business, before joining in academics. Just I would like to understand, because of this business automation and advancement of technology, how these pre-sales and post-sales have transformed from last 18 years, especially dealing with government business. Generally corporates are much ahead in terms of technological advancement when you deal with government projects. So how you deal with this kind of situation?
Interesting question. I do not know, honestly speaking, whether I'm the right person to answer it. Okay, but I'll try to take a dig at it without trying to throw too many stones in the pond. I'll talk about it with regards to the exposure that I had a few years back when I was in a business role, where I was also accountable for generating revenue, getting opportunities across multitude of industry verticals. And on one hand, I was looking at, working with the various frontline sales talent who would be directly interfacing with the customers and would look at generating opportunities for us. And on the other hand, I was also looking at how do I upskill and reskill my existing talent pipeline from within the organization, some of whom were also looking at, they were in between projects and they were looking at what's going to be the next role for them. So when we were doing that, especially because you spoke about government, I'll talk about one experience without getting into the details because we can't talk about those details. But I remember we were looking for project managers for one of the very large government clients. And the requirement that came in as part of the pre-sales was a particular JD, which seemed slightly different from what we typically, look forward from a project manager or a program manager kind of a profile. Now, as part of my opportunities, though, that I was working on at that point in time, uh, what I was doing was that I was scanning the industries and I was looking at it from a market standpoint. What is it that our clients are asking for increasingly? What's the trend? What's the scope of the jobs that are evolving? Okay. And I realized that there were increasingly a trend, and I'm talking about 3-4 years back, where they were requesting for people who would know a bit of robotic process automation, okay, who would know a bit about artificial intelligence and program management. Now, those were very new concepts, relatively for me, even at that particular point in time. So that what we started doing, at least what I had done was I started looking at the various courses that are available in the industry, and mapped those courses, online courses. I went through a few of them myself and got myself certified to understand the level of difficulty. Because personally, I have this trait that if I can do something, then everybody can do it. So, and then I got our teams to, get the necessary certifications done. And then they were deployed in those projects. And the client reviews or the client feedback on the kind of work that they delivered based at the client side was phenomenal. What I had also seen as part of one of my very personal work experiences as a program manager was that when you are working in a program management kind of a role with whoever are your clients, you are also interfacing and being the front face of the organization with the client. There are times when the customer is in a hurry and might ask you a question. Now, while it's absolutely okay to say that I will come back to you with an answer, but it's good to have some background and give some insights. And that happens only when we are very curious about learning more about the organization in which, the context in which we are operating and our client's business. So I think I'm not too sure if I've been able to give an answer to your question, but this is these are some of the things which came to my mind. I'm okay with a follow-up question if you have one.
No, Tilottama, I got your point. What triggered me to ask this question is when I was working with Indian Express in 2000, 2001, TCS backed this corporate governance project from Chandrababu Naidu at that point of time. So I used to go for tender advertisements for the newspaper, and I always used to see TCS guys waiting outside Infrastructure Corporation, APIIC at that time. So I was thinking that, even software job is not easy at that point of time.
Right. Thank you. Sanjay, for your question. Thank you, Tilottama. Major Kumud, you there? Major Kumud?
Yes, Pratika, yes, please.
Yeah. So there's a student who has posted a question for you, but he wants me to ask this question. That how do you judge about work ethics in a job seeker? How do you judge ethics? So that's what he's looking forward to. How he can prepare himself, where he can answer questions, where you are judging him or her for ethics.
Yeah, see, it's very difficult to judge a student, when we go for campus in a 15 or 20 or 30 minutes of interview. If you personally ask me, for me, there are certain traits which are very, very important for any students. And all those traits, to summarize, I just look for somebody, for example, who has been a sports person, right? Somebody who has been a sports person, who has been playing at a certain level. For me, such students actually display a lot of traits which actually fit very well, in my understanding, to the corporate world. Now, because obviously it basically shows that the student has been highly dedicated, very hardworking, highly resilient, So these are certain things, just giving one example, these are certain things, which we look at. But coming to like really finding out whether somebody will be following work ethics or not, it's, truly speaking, very difficult to ascertain. We don't really, look for students from those perspectives, in an interview. What we do is when these students, when they join our organizations, we groom them, we train them, we provide them that kind of a platform so that they are aligned with our code of conduct and with the corporate culture.
Right. I think Dr. Kamal would like to add something. Yeah.
Yeah, a counterpart to there, but we see that in business schools, we do not put enough emphasis on ethics. The fact being there that most of the businesses, when you see from inside out, and if you have been interacting, um, they do profess, ethics, honesty, and transparency. But when you get inside, things are different. I'm not casting any this thing on anybody, but generally people see, and you are not talking about the top multinationals and the organizations that have been built on the foundation of ethics and the honesty of the founders. But the other 95% or 96 or whatever number you call, but it must be in the 90s, is where ethics is a casualty to business exigencies. And that carries over. People don't value ethics enough, when you go out in the market. In fact, kai log, once again, excuse me for that, पागल है ये, मतलब honesty की बात करता है types. So that what travels in practice gets to the business schools also, where then it shows in the way the less emphasis on talking about ethics. And anyways, we all know that ethics and morality can never be taught. It has to be experience, and you have to be in a situation to be able to question yourself. So a quick take for the students is that these questions have started becoming important increasingly, and you must find out, everybody goes through such incidences, whether it's like when you're traveling, when you're driving a vehicle on the road, and when you see some big stone coming your way, do you stop, do you park your vehicle on the side and remove that stone on the road so that somebody from behind should not meet a worse fate or something? There are situations of all kinds you would have come across. Find out, maybe talk to your parents, talk to your friends, if you feel that I have done something good, and practice that answer. Build a good argument around that answer, that how would you explain that you are an ethical person? There has to be an answer. There are answers. You have to find out and polish it.
Right. Thank you, Dr. Kamal. Thank you, Major Kumar. One of my colleagues, Dr. Prachi, has a question for Palak. Prachi, you there? Prachi? And I would request all the panelists to please switch on their video. We need some photographs also. Major,
yes, Pratika ma'am, I'm here.
Yeah, just a Major, if you can switch on your video. Yeah, Prachi, please go ahead.
Palak, I have a question for you. That how do we manage work-life balance in this competitive era? Like where, all the time we have to be upskilling ourselves, and there is a very high demand at the job end also. So if you could highlight on that, well, our students will also be benefited. Thank you.
I'm sure Dr. Prachi, with the COVID insane, and especially with the future of work, what generally happens is it's no more longer 9 to 5 kind of a job. I think we all are pretty flexible where it has come to the starting with the work. I think so. If you go to the office or if you go to your workplace or if you come to the school, you know about the sessions. Like it's going to last from 9, it's going to start at 9 and going to finish till 5. But I think so when I work in this kind of an environment, I start at 8, start having my meetings. And I think so it has become kind of a corporate culture, especially because of COVID, where people are working from home and they are taking the flexibility. Oh, it's like after the work as well, we are available for the calls. We are doing late night calls, and especially to meet the different time zones. I mean, because I work for a Japanese organization, which has got which works in APAC, EMEA, as well as in America. So just to meet with the time zones, it's a work-related stress. And in my organizations, I mean, we often in HR have these conversations, like how to deal with that stress. We don't, and that's when your work ethics comes into the play. Shall I close off my laptop after 5? Can I reply the question to the email tomorrow? Shall I work on this tomorrow? And I think it's your conscious, and you should do that. And we all in the organization, we all teach ourselves, you can wait. Nobody's going to die. Unless you are in a medical profession where you have to really operate somebody, you have to go beyond and work that ways. But if you are, I mean, unless somebody's dying, you can actually wait and manage your work-life balance. So follow your work ethics, work 9 to 5, have a personal life, have a family outside work. It's not all about work. It's about a lot of things. It helps you mentally grow. It helps you develop. It helps your cognitive skills, the same thing which Pratika asked me. So it's all about expanding your horizons, thinking beyond.
I totally agree. I totally agree with Palak. I mean, the health, COVID, if we were not aware, COVID has taught us that there's nothing more important than health. A disease can cut you off from not only the world, but from yourself also, and keep you isolated. So mental health is very important. And 9 to 5, whatever work we do, playing with our kids, or, just devoting our time to our hobbies or the family life can also lead to mental health, because it gives brain the time to process all the data that we have been, dealing with from 9 to 5.
And just to add, Dr. Gunjit over here, after 10 minutes, I have a presentation with a panel where we're going to talk about the well-being, what my organization is focusing on. We're going to talk about 3 elements: health, physical, lifestyle management. So it's the corporate world which wants a mental well-being for their employees. And it's just the trend. I think all of us after COVID has realized it's a need of an hour.
Sure.
Yeah, right. In fact, even we at SOM School of Management, Presidency University, many a times we deliberate not only on the academic front and how an educator should behave, but we talk a lot about health, mental health. And thanks to our dean that she has taken few initiatives where we have been discussing the health of our employees and how we can improvise it. Now, I would like to play a quick fire round, rapid fire round with my panelists. So 1 line to each one of you. Please define the Industry 4.0 manager in 1 line. Let me start with Palak, the youngest one. Yes, Palak, over to you.
I think I would define adaptive to the change management and empathetic.
Very
I
good.
think those are the 2 key skills which.
Very nice, empathetic and adaptive. Tilottama, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yeah, 1 line on the Industry 4.0 manager.
Looking for the Aishwarya Rai in the girlfriend. Basically, that was a joke, just to, kind of get all of us to smile a bit. But 1 line answer is being the daring manager.
Oh, wonderful. Daring manager. So dare to evolve, students.
Right.
Dr. Kamal.
Having business analytics skills and being flexible. Change resistance. They have to learn to reduce change resistance.
Yeah, true. Nothing is permanent but change. Major KK.
Yeah, to me, somebody who is highly creative, very innovative, and as I said, somebody who is ready to always upgrade their skills and knowledge.
Okay, so creativity and it's the key, creativity and innovation. Absolutely. Dr. Gunjit. Ma'am, you have to unmute yourself. Ma'am, please unmute yourself.
All right, okay. Yeah, I would say adaptive, analytical, and, in sync with the automated world that we live in.
Oh, great. In sync with the automated world. In fact, we are teaching these days, me and Dr. Gunjit, we share the same paper where we teach, sales automation. Thank you, panelists. It was a wonderful discussion with all of you. Thank you for joining us, Major KK, Palak, Dr. KK, Tilottama Pal, Gunjit ma'am, and all my colleagues. I hand it to the organizer, the convener of webinars at School of Management, Dr. Arun Khatri, for a vote of thanks, formal vote of thanks. Khatri, sir, over to you. Dr. Khatri, you there? Dr. Arun Khatri? Yes. Please unmute yourself, Khatri, sir. You have to unmute yourself.
Yeah,
Yeah. Please unmute yourself and switch on your video.
I think now I am audible and visible as well.
Yeah.
So it was a wonderful session as the corporate and academia interface always give direction to faculties, and it's always a guiding star. And what I can make, what we can take from this discussion is a common thing coming out from the corporate, all the three experts from Mr. Kumud, Ms. Tilottama, and Ms. Palak, that coding is very important for the budding managers. And I am very happy to share that we have already implemented the coding for almost every student in School of Management here in Presidency University. And now the one thing which is coming out from the academicians, Professor Kamal Kishore and our own Dean Gunjit ma'am, is we have to introduce more experiential learning through quality teaching. And we are again happy that we are also working very sincerely on these things. So on behalf of every student and every faculty member, we assure that we are working on the same lines, and you can count on our students. You can come to our campus. We are invited to take our students as managers in your companies. And thank you. A big thanks to Mr. Kumud, Ms. Tilottama, Ms. Palak, and Professor Kumud, Professor Kamal Kishore. Actually, Professor Kamal Kishore, when I see you, I remembered one of my professor, Dr. Rajan Gupta. He was also an IIM alumni, fellow of IIM Ahmedabad. He was a teacher in MBA Gurgaon. And thank you, Gunjit ma'am. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Arun. Thank you very much. Once again, I personally thank Major KK for taking out time. He was on site today and then he ran to his office, and he's a very busy man and he's attending this for 1.5 hours. Thank you. Thank you, Tilottama. I know you're going through a lot of personal issues, but still you agreed. Thank you very much. Palak, all the way from London, and I must express my thank to Dr. Prachi. Your name, Palak. Thank you for joining us. Dr. Kamal, what to say, sir? Always when I, जब भी मैं kind of request, जब भी मैं request करती हूँ, you are there for us in whatever events we have requested you to be there. So thank you very much for your presence. And Gunjit ma'am, thank you for all the motivation and all that you give us daily to, upskill, reskill ourselves. Thank you for being there always. And thank you to KK sir as well, our associate dean. Thank you, students, for joining us. I'm sure it was a learning experience for all of you, and there are a lot of takeaways. Thanks a ton. Thank you, one and all.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, a very
Thanks,
good
everybody.
evening. A very good evening to all of you. Thank you.
Thank you.